Picked a great week to go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it.
You know what? It doesn't matter anymore.
No, it doesn't.
I, every day there's going to be a new AI announcement of some kind. Every day there's going to be an antitrust news story of some kind. We happen to be in the middle of like earnings week,
Mm-hmm.
so got to deal with that. Speaking of which, didn't Apple announce their earnings? I don't even
Yeah, I think they
can't
did.
even keep this stuff straight. And I bet they made like $1 jillion or something. Is that how
Probably.
that works?
I mean,
Yeah.
isn't I think the Apple Vision or whatever is available today as well?
Oh, yeah. That's big news for the 600 people that are going to buy it. Good.
I think it was like 200,000 or whatever, but that's even 200K is not a lot for Apple at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah. I
But
mean, yeah.
I have to laugh because, of course, they're getting news like mainstream media coverage or whatever you want to call it, and they're going through all these demos, and I have to imagine that the entire Hololens team is just sitting there, just punching air, going like,
I I would think at Microsoft they're used to that by now. I
"Yeah, they have
mean,
to be."
and
The only thing missing is they need Tyson Krupp to do like an elevator demo of like seeing the things through the stuff because that was all they ever did with the HoloLens, and then it would be
um,
completely.
hmm, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It's a different kind of product. I'm not even
Yeah,
sure what the hell it is. It's in some weird nether space between VR and AR almost. But
yeah.
I really the death knell for anything like AR related was just when they did AR on like iPads and phones,
Hmm.
And then you see this in like, yeah, it's not the same immersive thing, but it gives you a lot of those benefits, and it has that you walk around in the world, ability, and you can be in a museum and have an AR experience, whatever. I was talking about that one. You can't walk out in the world with these stupid things. Look like a
Yeah,
jerk.
I'm sure it's a good piece of hardware and the software is
I'm,
fine. It's still
I'm
just
not sure either one of those is true. No, I'm not. It's like a gigantic
oh, it
wraparound head
is.
hugger thing. I mean,
But the
whatever.
what
I don't know what to tell you. I just don't.
like it's like I want to experience it before I go crap all over it because I feel like that's the only appropriate way to do it. However,
Yeah,
I
I don't really
still
care.
I still I still lack what is the killer feature of this type of a product that because they're
There
showing a
is.
lot of different use cases. Well, first off, you can only like one of the things that's nuts about it
Yeah.
is they try to do a productivity focus, and it's like, okay, that's cool, whatever. You can only do one monitor of your Mac, so you can't do a dual screen Mac. So okay, that's out. And then I, I don't think productivity is the right focus for this stuff because
No, I mean, I think the MetaQuest stuff has kind of shown us that too, right? I
I
mean,
think
it's
Hololens showed us that as well,
well, look,
or
I was just
even the
talking
mixed
with this.
reality headsets for a more direct
I
comparison.
look, I mean, the way they came out of the gate with this thing was, we don't know what people are going to do with it, so let's see what happens. And the first couple of big demos they did was games with those floating alien things on the stage on the first one, and
Hmm.
then we went to that Minecraft demo at one point when we went hands on with this thing. And these were not real. They were just demos. So like they
Yeah.
weren't. They were very constrained, whatever. But the way the HoloLens evolved was they found these kind of vertical markets, right?
Hmm.
I was just talking about this yesterday on Windows Weekly. It's just the one I liked was you're doing the electrician thing, and you've got an actual electrician in a window, and he's
Yeah.
like, cut the yellow wire or whatever. Um, that always made a bunch of sense to me. That was so long ago, by the way, that they used Skype for that.
Mm.
So hilarious. But the automaker one's a good one, right? So making a 2-ton clay model of a car that's really hard to
Yep.
change, right? You do it in AR, and then the other people you're showing it to can walk around with the mixed reality headset, and because they're just viewing it, right? And they
Hmm.
can look all open doors and look at things. That always made sense to me, but those markets are not humongous, so
Right.
here we are. I mean, that's why I think again, I'm just repeating myself from yesterday. I apologize, but like the Army kind of stepped in, I think bailed out that product. I think they would have canceled it by now otherwise. And unfortunately, because the Army represents 99% of their revenues, they're custom tailoring it for them. They're not coming out with
Yeah.
new retail versions because nobody wants them. And supposedly because they're waiting for the best hardware, yeah, sure. Um, and I don't think this is going to succeed either. But even if it does, who cares? It's the Army. It's a
Hmm.
different kind of a thing. It's just not the same. You get Apple doing ads on TV, probably during the Super Bowl, and it's going to be people sitting on couches with their goofy helmets on, trying not to look nerdy. And I think this is a little bit like AI. There is no killer app. There's a bunch of little killer apps that will all be individual, or not. I guess
I
we'll
don't
see.
know.
But
The
I
only
think this is
thing
little things.
there's two things that have jumped out that say,
Mhm.
well, one, they're like, one of the killer features is watching movies. I'm like, okay, no, it's not. First of all,
Mm-mm.
uh,
By the way,
because
it's just it's a 2D screen
well,
hanging in space.
let's Paul Threat. Let's pretend that it is the killer feature. Let's pretend that it is great. You know what I like doing when I'm
I
watching with movies? Hanging
talking to
out
your
with my
wife.
wife, and
I know.
like,
Well, okay. So
hey, sweetie,
I,
let's go watch a movie. We're gonna put these things on so we can't see each other.
okay. So ideally, this would turn into a Teams meeting type situation where you could see
Yeah, let me
virtual
tell you what I don't want to do
representations.
with my wife is get on a Teams meeting with my
I
wife.
know I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying, like, when you think about like societal norms, like this,
Yeah,
the smartphone has destroyed them, right?
sure.
There are people that stand there in the middle of a room full of other people talking to someone like it's a walkie-talkie through their phone. I want to throw that thing into the next room every time. I see this all the time. Like we just don't, we walk around like this, and and there's also the family sits down to dinner and everyone's on their phone or whatever. Those things are very common. So you don't want to sit there in the dark and not see your wife or whatever. Like, yeah, I hear you, but then again, like there's probably this generation coming who's like, I don't
Yeah.
need to see this person. These are people who get married way later in life. They experience things way later in life, and digital has just been a part of their life from inception. So they might look at this differently. I'm not disagreeing with you. And I've said this to my wife. I've said, I could imagine a future where we sit here with something over our faces, and she's like, really? But it's not going to be this giant thing. It's going to
No, it's
be
gonna be a pair
glasses,
of
and in those
glasses.
situations, you can. I mean, and Apple knows this.
Yeah.
This is not what they wanted.
No.
This was the compromise. It's like we've been working on this for years. We were really trying to get it down to glasses. This is how far we could get, and you can see how far away it is because it's a big, it's a big bulbous
It's a
thing.
pair of ski goggles is what it is.
Yeah, so it will get there. The question is going to be whether that market means anything. I don't think it means anything while they look like this.
Now, the one thing that it will do that I think could be neat, and I will fully admit this, are the spatial videos. Do seem like they could be potentially interesting. However, like
planetarium mode.
well, no, like you can record a spatial video, and like according to the reviews, it's like you're back.
All right,
there,
so
but
that's
it's not.
was it Minority Report where Tom Cruise had those little videos that like kind of hung in space and they were kind of like Princess Leia from Star Wars?
I would love to be able to take a spatial video when we're at a national park and then put this thing back on and then make it feel like I'm there. But I don't think that's that worth one. It's not worth $3,500. And is it like would I see that video on like an Apple TV screen? Say everything. Oh, I should go put the headset on so I can stand in my living room and kind of feel like I'm there again.
I don't know. I guess the question would be, I assume I will never do that. No, you know what? Why do I say things like that? I'm probably not going to do this anytime soon, but I assume if you take one of these spatial videos and it pops up on your phone, you could hold it up and you do that thing, like there are iPhone videos that now that do that, right? You kind of rotate the thing around. So as long, the key to that would be that the video is watchable and you would want to watch it in both modes, if that makes sense, like 2D and 3D, I guess. It's not much. Yeah, I guess it's 3D, right? And if it's like that, I mean, yeah, maybe, but yeah, having that immersive thing. There are ways to do this with flat screens that I don't think have been exploited enough. Remember right before Satya Nadella became CEO, I think, because we knew Ward Ralston, right? Mm-hmm. He was Satya Nadella's speechwriter at the end, and he was a great communicator in his own right. He was an amazing Windows Server guy, but he was telling me how he had just become CEO, was about to become CEO or something, but he got invited into a thing he normally would have been invited to as someone on the Windows Server team, which was a demonstration on campus in a tent of this feature they were going to put in the Xbox, probably the Xbox One at the time or whatever, that was going to it would kind of project on the wall around the screen. It would get like vaguer as it went. So it was basically it was lights and it was matched to the screen, but it was also bleeding from the game you were playing, right? So you could imagine like a racing game as you kind of go down whatever the path is, this thing is kind of evolving around and it gives you this kind of immersive, I don't remember what the name of that thing was, but the expectation at the time was this was shipping, and then of course it never arrived. We also just have the lights, like there are what do you call them? Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Atmospheric,
Philips did one.
ambient lights.
Like there's hue
Well,
lights
no,
in the
this is a big
tower.
thing now, though. You have the lights that go on the back of monitors,
Yeah,
back
yeah.
of desks. Like you can,
It's
and
a
NVIDIA
thing.
has this software. It bleeds the experience out to the wall a bit.
Hmm.
So honestly, that would be a really good 2D experience for the thing you're describing, that type of thing. And you can imagine it's Apple, right? They'll probably do something like that on Apple TV. So yeah, right.
Maybe.
Everything
Yeah.
about this, honestly, right now is not right, but you could see we're in the future, maybe.
Right.
So that's the thing. I mean, they certainly invested a lot in this. What does this thing look like, gen over gen?
Right. That's the thing. This is not a mass market device by any means.
No, not even close. But I mean, look, the original Mac was really expensive when it first came out, and
Very true.
now Macs are actually pretty much as affordable as other computers.
Mhm.
And they certainly have their advantages. So it's, I don't know, it's just not there yet.
Yeah.
This is like if the first Apple Watch was that. What was the really expensive one? It was like $11,000 or some
It's like
stupid
the
thing.
gold one,
Yeah, whatever the
edition
hell it was.
watch or something like that.
The one, yeah. It would be like that was the only one they had, and they're like, sorry, this is all we can do right now. And eventually they get down to the form factor that we all want, or at least closer to it. I think the situation you described with your wife is a great example of like that's solvable, and the way you solve it is miniaturization of the device,
Yeah.
right?
Which I think we all know is the goal, because the biggest problem right now is like if I can imagine like we record a video at Zion National Park and like I put this, and I'm like I want to see that again. It's like, well, I can go do that for $3,500. I can literally get there for $3,500 by myself.
Well, okay.
Like I could.
Well, it's not just the money though, right? It's the
The money, I will tell you, money's a big part of it. Like,
Well, I tell you, okay, fair enough. No, I mean it's not just the money.
No,
like
I know.
it's
time.
I think of my own little versions of what you just said, which is like I'm sitting in a cafe in Paris or sitting by the banks of the river there, and
Mhm.
just leave the thing recording for 10 minutes or something and let it go loop or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I that would be neat. I mean, at some point you can't afford or don't want, or it's too difficult, or you have physical things and travel becomes an issue. So I think this virtual experience thing is actually a really good use case. I'm surprised it hasn't been exploited by something. Like I'm surprised, like Google Maps should do then just start adding locations that are famous, like you're in front of the Eiffel Tower, you're in front of Notre Dame or whatever, you're sitting in a cafe in Paris. Like I really think people would love stuff like that, even if you do travel a lot. It's just a way to kind of enjoy it when you're not there.
I think it's worth pointing out. So the product is called the Apple Vision Pro, which would suggest that there is an Apple Vision, like
an Apple Vision Air
coming.
It'll be an Air. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Right. The one that's light. We'll see.
Who knows?
We'll see. It's not interesting right now, but
Right.
it is interesting to speculate about where it's going. And then you're like, okay, at some point. But then again, we're not exactly buying Meta Quests, are we?
No.
So there's maybe a logical size for these markets, this market or whatever it is, at this form factor, and as they get better, we'll see.
Maybe.
That's about all we can say.
I don't know. We can say
It's
a lot
probably
more.
as nice as I'm ever going to be to Apple, really. I mean,
I don't know, they made a
giving
whole
them
bunch
the
of money.
benefit of the doubt on a product, I think is ridiculous. But
Yeah.
they do good work. They're
You think you compare
definitely
it with
heading
their
towards
Hi-Fi?
something. What's that?
Can you think you compare it with the Hi-Fi?
The iPod Hi-Fi thing, the gigantic speaker.
Yeah, that fizzled
Yeah,
out.
like the first effort was like, let's keep working on this. Yeah, that's sure. Compare that to the HomePod, and then eventually you get down to the HomePod Mini. And you're like, there we go. That's the one everyone wants. A fun little colorful ball. Not this thing. It's what that thing was like the foundation of a building. It was like a cornerstone.
Yeah, it really
And it
was.
probably weighed about as much.
Probably did.
Plus, it had that old school connector. Isn't that how you
The
do?
30
You just
pin
put-
dock on top.
Yeah, put it right. It probably sounded great.
Probably did. But you know what? No one bought it, so they killed it.
Yeah, but they didn't invest as much in that speaker as they did in Vision Pro. See, that's
No,
the thing.
that is-
This is not a. It's like we tried. They rolled that. You get this trend going. You get the developers on board. There are apps happening. People are investing their own money in this ecosystem. I mean, that's a tough thing to wind down. That's the guys who did UWP. How well that went. Bam! I brought it home, baby.